Hello, everyone on Patreon. Thank you so much for your ongoing support and for voting this month on a bonus movie review. The winner this month is A Taste of Honey, which was released in 1961. This was directed by Tony Richardson. He co-wrote the script with, I hope I have this right, Shelagh Delaney. It starred Rita Tushingham, Dora Bryan, and Robert Stevens. For those of you who haven't seen it, the plot is a pregnant teenage girl must fend for herself when her mother remarries, leaving the girl with only a new male friend for support. This is one of the films during the British New Wave period where they were depicting ordinary people, as opposed to what we more commonly had seen in British cinema. And so a lot of it was quite daring, angry, bold. It has this documentary style approach, sort of like neorealism. And this was actually originally a play. And I hadn't seen it before. I've been meaning to see it. So I was glad I put it on the poll this month. And I'm really glad it won because this is a wonderful film and it explores human relationships. I mean, I can't even boil it down to any kind of essence. I mean, there's so much here, and it really centers around this young woman, played by Rita Tushingham, Josephine, and the obstacles and struggles that she faces in life. And this is, an extra layer or two of being daring, especially in the early 60s, was that she gets pregnant out of marriage by a black man, and then she meets and lives with a man who's clearly gay, played by Melvin, who's great, Jeffrey Ingham, and they don't say outright that he's gay, but it's pretty obvious that he is, and it's really interesting how they manage to put both of these relationships with a homosexual man and a black man and a white woman at the time in one film, but it all feels so organic and it feels so real, and it just feels like the story took this natural course. But Jo is, she lives with her mother, we see off the top, and her, they don't have very much money. It's, she, when we first see the mother, they're being thrown out of their flat. She sort of talks, the person who throws them out, I suppose the landlord, is like talking about all the men she's bringing over. So it suggests that she has a lot of men coming over, even with her daughter there, even though they live in a small flat. And then she meets this younger guy, who wants to marry her, and Jo can't stand this guy, and he is, a pretty big asshole, I would say. He's not a nice guy, and the thing with Helen, the mother, is that she was young when she had her. I mean, she wasn't too young because she's 40 in the film, so she was 24 when she had Jo. So she really wasn't that young, but I don't think it was a matter of just her being young. I think it was, you can look at it in all sorts of ways. We don't know where the father is. She was single for a long time. But then again, she does talk about the fact that the father was the first man she was with. So you feel that she had to miss out on so many things in her life. And so now having all these men and remarrying someone younger is making her put those things above the needs of her daughter. And so her daughter is neglected. She feels alone. She's troubled. She's struggling in school. And so she meets this black sailor played by Paul Danquah, Jimmy, and they strike a rapport. They go out a couple of times and then they sleep together, and then he's a sailor, so he goes off to travel, and then she finds out she's pregnant. So now she's in another real bind, and she's living on her own, she's working, and this is where she meets Jeffrey. And, she refers to Jeffrey as her big sister. They have a brother-sister-like relationship. But at the same time, Jeffrey wants to marry her because, again, it's mysterious about where he comes from or what. He talks about the fact that he was kicked out of where he lived and stuff. So you think, okay, is that because of the fact that he was gay and someone found out? I mean, at this time, it was illegal to be gay in the UK, and so they were able to strongly suggest it without saying it outright that this is a gay man. But he does try to kiss her at one point, and maybe he's he's looking for family. I mean, it's not that he's necessarily looking for a partner, or maybe he's trying to convince himself that he is straight. He tries to kiss her at one point, but he really wants to marry her and be the father of the child. So he's looking to be with her in some way, shape, or form. So it's so interesting. This, you're not quite sure what she feels about him. I felt that she really just looked at him like, as she says, like the older sister. And so they have this really strong unspoken connection, and they're both outsiders. They're both rejected in different ways. And so this is where the bond really lies. And I found that quite wonderful because it's so emotionally strong, and it gives you so much to think about. It's really stimulating in terms of where they're coming from, how they feel about each other, what they both want out of this relationship, and so on and so forth. The performances are brilliant. I'm gonna have to see more of Murray Melvin. He, of course, was in Barry Lyndon. He's really good. Rita Tushingham as Joe, fantastic. Dora Bryan, she's also very, very funny because on one hand, you can't stand her because you feel like she's neglecting the daughter, but she's not really. She's somewhat mean to the daughter, but really she has this fun-loving spirit. I mean, they also feel like sisters. It's interesting that she gets with her mother, feels like a sister, and then the guy she's living with feels like the quote-unquote older sister, the gay man, which again is really interesting. There's nothing traditional or common about the way in which they all relate to one another. I mean, that also adds to the fact that she went with someone black. Again, something that is not common then, and of course would have been frowned upon. And I found that also really appealing because, like I said, Helen is not your ordinary mom. I mean, clearly doesn't know how to really be a mother. She's puts her needs above her daughter's, and so this is part of the problem. But she has this fun-loving quality to her and sense of humor about her that you can't help but like her. I mean, you can see that she loves her daughter and cares about her. Once she gets married, she wants to bring the daughter along on this trip, and of course it's the new husband that doesn't want her to go because they're not getting along, and so. But she does tell her to leave, but you can see how she's torn and she feels guilty. And then later on, she comes back, she finds out she's pregnant, and she comes back to help her. And this, of course, is when we see her not getting along with Jeffrey. And what really hurts at the end, spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen it, is that, Joe tells Helen, I need Jeffrey, where is Jeffrey? And Jeffrey had written a note that he was going to leave, because obviously now Helen's in the picture and this three of them together, it's not working out so well. And instead of looking at what Joe wanted, which was for Jeffrey to be there, she just lets Jeffrey go. She doesn't say anything about how much Joe needs Jeffrey. She just lets it happen. And again, that's part of her selfishness, because now her marriage isn't working out with this guy. He's, we find out he's been drinking a lot, and that's falling apart. And so she's going back to her daughter, and of course she just wants Jeffrey out of there because she doesn't like him. And so again, it's a selfish act, and she does not take what Joe wants into account. So it's sad. I mean, it's, the film is not doesn't have any sort of message about it. It just ends, right? I mean, it just kids playing outside. They live in this rundown flat, and that's it. I mean, it's just a exploration of these oddball, lovable types with serious problems that we all face. We have the pregnancy that was not planned. We have these, single mother. We have a man who's gay and he's rejected. We have a young girl without, a strong upbringing and a sort of people giving her strong guidance and mentors. So not having all of these things and the complications within the relationships, it's very relatable. And I think a lot of people will watch this and be able to relate to it in some way, shape, or form, or see themselves in it in some way, shape, or form, because it's very complicated, but it has a sort of lovable quality to it, because I feel like it's a very humanist. It's very, this is what it is, and I'll have to read this play as well. I wonder if the play is different at all. So I'll have to read that. But this is a great film, so I'm so glad it won on the poll. Thank you again for those of you who voted. I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed it, and it's on the Criterion channel, so if you haven't seen it or want to see it again, check it out there. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Please comment below. Let me know what you think of A Taste of Honey. Thank you again, and I will see you in the next one.